There's a story in the Bible where the nation of Israel found their founding document, the book of the law. The reaction of the king to what was found was so profound, it made me think, what would happen if America, if we the people once again found our book of the law, the Constitution of the United States of America? Well, let's ponder that next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution. We teach a rising generation to be free. As always, please head over to that website, constitutionstudy.com. That's where you'll find everything that I work on here, articles, videos. You can sign up for the podcast, sign up for the newsletter, visit the store, sign up for one of the programs, take a class. That's your place to start. Obviously, if you have questions or if you have topics you'd like me to cover, that's the place to do it. Just hit the Ask a Question. I'd be more than happy to try that. Hey, I'm starting to get out and about again. So if you have an event you think I'd be interested in, either in attending or speaking at, pop that in there as well. This releases this weekend. I'm going to be in outside of Bismarck, North Dakota at Midwest Freedom Fest. So if you're there, please stop by and say hello. If you have an event you think I might be interested in, let me know. I'm dying to get back out and meet people again. So, and again, if you want to do something online, I'm doing a lot of that as well. So please, that's all over at the website. But with that, let's talk about this story about finding the book of the law. The story takes place in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 22. The book of the law was given to the children of Israel by God through Moses before they entered the promised land. It contained the basic and supreme law of their land, and every king was required to make a copy of it for themselves and to read and study it daily. Now compare that to the United States of America. Our founding fathers, definitely not God's, well, they gave us our own version of the book of the law, the Constitution. It contains the basic and supreme law of the land. And while every leader is not required to make a copy and study it, although I really wish they would, John Jay encouraged we the people to diligently read and study it for ourselves. Quote, "Every member of the state ought diligently to read and to study the Constitution of his country and teach the rising generation to be free. By knowing their rights, they will sooner perceive when they are violated and be the better prepared to defend and assert them." See, in ancient Israel, the practice of studying the law had faded away, to the point where the book of the law had actually been lost. Now, if you've read much of the historical books of the Old Testament, you know that things did not go so well with Israel as they abandoned the laws God had given them. Now, in America today, we too have lost our book of the law. Oh, sure, we know where the parchment is, but we have walked away. We have abandoned the laws that founded this country. Studies show that between 30 and 40% of Americans cannot name a single freedom protected by the First Amendment. Lawyers and judges do not study the Constitution in law school. They study the commentaries of other judges. Our elected representatives claim authority specifically denied them in the supreme law of the land, while claiming that the Constitution gives them that authority. And as America has drifted farther and farther away from our supreme law, well, things have not gone so well for us either. Your rights that are supposed to be protected by the Bill of Rights are not. Governments claim the authority to abridge your freedoms of religion, speech, and press. A state that respects your right to keep and bear arms is now the exception rather than the rule. You are no longer secure in your persons, houses, papers, and effects. Your right to a trial by an impartial jury is compromised, and the limitations placed on the federal government are routinely ignored, both by the political class and by the people at large. Which leads me to our story in 2 Kings chapter 22. See, while doing some repair work on the temple, the high priest finds the book of the law. Now, when this gets reported to the king and he hears what they were supposed to be doing, he is so embarrassed that he tore his clothes and asked the priest to go to God to beg forgiveness. Now, this led not only to a restoration of the law and worship in Israel, but to a period of prosperity and peace. So this got me thinking, what would happen if we found our book of the law? Now, while the Constitution itself is not physically lost, it certainly is missing from public discourse, from education, and from political debate. So what would happen if not only our leaders, but the American people once again discovered the supreme law of the land? As John Jay said, by knowing their rights, they will sooner perceive when they are violated. So if we the people once again discovered the Constitution, would we recognize just how frequently our rights are being violated? Would we see the evils of civil asset forfeiture, red flag laws, and secret courts? Would we no longer stand for our liberties and property being taken without due process of law? Would we see the daily infringement on our rights and be as angry about it as Patrick Henry was? See, Mr. J also said we would be better prepared to defend and assert them. Does that mean we would stand against those who are taking our rights? And would we come to the defense of others who are having their rights taken away? Would we stand with Shelley Luther of Texas or the McCloskeys of St. Louis and the numerous others who have been bullied by those in our government? Would we assert our rights to run our businesses, go in public without masks, travel without paperwork, and confront those in government who would detain us without a warrant? Thomas Jefferson said, "In questions of power, let no more be heard of confidence in man, but bind him down from mischief by the chains of the Constitution." What would America look like if we once again found our book of the law and put it to use its chains to bind those in power? See, if we the people again recognize that we are sovereign in this country, that we create governments, not the other way around, that we delegate to them authority, they do not delegate them to us, that governments are established to protect our rights, not to protect their own, and those governments' only legitimate power comes from our consent, would that lead to a restoration of rule of law in America rather than today's rule of men? Would peace and prosperity return if we would only find this book again? I cannot predict the future, but as Patrick Henry said, I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is a lamp of experience. If the call and recognition of liberty freed us to declare independence from a tyrannical government once, it can do so again. And we have the tremendous advantage over those who form this country. We do not need to abolish our government. We need only to alter it, to put in place better people to represent us and uphold their oath to support the Constitution. So to all the American people, I wish to introduce you to your book of the law. Let us take John Jay's advice. Let us diligently read and study the Constitution of our country. Let us teach the rising generation to be free, that we may educate ourselves to recognize when our rights are being violated and to know how to defend and assert them. As Thomas Jefferson wrote, "I know no safe depository of the ultimate powers of society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education. This is the true corrective of abuses of constitutional power." If Jefferson is right, if the only safe place for the ultimate powers of society are the people, then what have we done by turning that power over to government? And if we think we are not enlightened enough, and I would say based on my experience, most people are not, the answer is not to take the power from them, but to help educate them. And that's what I try to do here. That's what I do every week with these videos. It's what I do every week with the podcast, with the articles, with my classes, with my events, is to help educate you. We're not going to agree on everything. But if I can educate you and you can educate me on what the Constitution actually says, what it actually means, and the powers we actually have, maybe we can bind down those who wish to commit mischief. I see a lot of people calling for a lot of things that will fix the nation. But I believe the ultimate remedy is education of the people, to inform their discretion. We complain about what Congress does, forgetting the fact that each and every one of them won an election. We complain about our president. He won an election too. We complain about our governors and our legislatures, and we forget they won elections as well. And when we complain about the courts, we forget that at the state level, many of them are elected, but even at the federal level, their good behavior is supposed to be guaranteed by those we elect to represent us. See, if we inform our discretion in how we choose our representatives, well, it's not going to magically fix everything, but it will give us the change to begin binding down those who commit mischief. Whether it's an official who will not do their duty to protect your rights, or an official who is violating their oath to take away your rights. Education to me is the key. As everything I've looked at, well, some of the things people want to do I think are good and some are bad. At the root cause, at the base of everything, it is educating our discretion. So I hope you'll do two things. One, I hope you'll head over to the website and find this information and help educate yourself and even educate me. If you've got some great information, please send it along. Again, I may not disagree, I may not agree with you, but it doesn't mean we can't teach each other. But most importantly, can we share this information? You see, the vast majority of the people I meet in the country have a relatively little understanding of the Constitution. They don't know what it says. They don't know what it means. So they're asking governments to do things they are designed not to do. So if you can share them, if you can help other people just get a little bit of interest, to help enlighten them of the importance of being engaged, to help educate them and inform their discretion. So if you can help point other people to the truth of our book of the law, if you can remove from them the confidence that if you just elect this person or that person, the problem goes away, from confidence in men and women. If we can take that one step and begin to bind down our representatives from mischief using the change of the Constitution, then I think this country will begin to heal. But it's going to take work, and it's going to take the people rediscovering our book of the law, rediscovering the Constitution and its importance for each and every American in our everyday lives. And hopefully I've enticed you enough that you'll want to come get educated more right here at the Constitution.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long